Hi, so we have today a meeting with Adam. Hi, Adam. Adam Gillrie is working with Savvy Dealer, and he'll tell us all about what he's doing. And he agreed to come on, meet with me, and give us some of his expertise. Uh, just a few actionable points for dealers to deal with vendors. Specifically, I was hoping to get clarity on how to evaluate ROI for marketing agencies, which is a big expense for all dealers in the digital space. Thank you, Adam, and go ahead. First, if you want to introduce yourself, tell us what your company is doing.
Yeah, sure. I'm Adam Gillrie. So we have kind of three pillars of what we work on. We do a lot of auditing and reporting, and we help certain groups just focus on understanding what the ROI is of the vendors they're using, if they're doing best practices, and part of that will actually give like bullet points of changes necessary to get things up to speed. To follow the best practices for what Facebook, Google Ads, OTT, whatever it is that we're doing. The second thing that we do is we work really hard on the fastest, most AI compliant website platform, which is again, it's an evolving, crazy situation, but we're working on that platform every single day. The third thing we do for some of our dealers in markets, we won't take on competitors, but we'll actually do just turnkey marketing and run the whole show if that's what's necessary. So we'll come in and meet every week and help dealers manage their marketing from top to bottom, messaging, everything. So
Perfect. Okay. So, what would you say most actionable advice that you can give to dealer that has an average marketing agencies? I hear a lot of different numbers. I think like 7 to 10 to $15,000 a month is not unheard of. That dealers pay to an agency to do what exactly, and what would you advise to these dealers?
So I would, what I would say to dealers is there's two basic groups your advertising is aimed at. The one group that I care the most about is people trying to buy right now. That's the market that I care the most about. I want to see the most focus on. The second group, which is what we've traditionally always had, which is I'll call it brand awareness or people that could buy sometime in the future. So this is people that maybe they were shopping the last 30 days, but they're not shopping right now. And Google's kind of captured the primary they're shopping right now market. Some of the third parties do this as well, but it searches like where do I buy an F-150 today? I mean, that's a bit of exaggeration. They just usually just type the word F-150. But it's the first question I tell everyone is Google right now at your dealership the top model. So if you're a Chevy dealer, new Silverado at 1500, the for sale or near me, that stuff is fine, but majority of your traffic is like new Silverado or new Camry, and we want to see if you're number one, and if you even come up. And where do you come up? So are you in the shopping ads and in the text ads? Are you just in the shopping? And then also, if you're in the shopping ad, is it because you're running an ad or because cars.com or Auto Trader is running an ad on your behalf? And over and over again, I've come into dealerships. They said, look, we're just underselling on this truck. And shockingly, the first thing I find is we're running $0 to the most important search, which for a Chevy dealer is new Silverado. But you should be able to see this on your own computer. You don't even need a report to see that.
Right. So you're talking about, I'm hearing two things. One is strategize and give them specific direction as to what your goals are, like specific model. And second, I have a question. If a dealer just goes and searches on Google, the results will be affected by a lot of things, location, history, right? How do they search so they see what other people see?
Yeah. Well, so generally speaking, you should still see. So if you're not in your own market, sometimes putting the name of the town at the end of the search. So New Silverado, Bakersfield could be a way to do it. If you really want to be 100% certain, you can start just a basic Google Ads campaign, and they have a tool called Ad Preview. And Ad Preview will let you set the town specifically and strip all those other things out of the way. It'll also, if your ad agency is blocking your IP address so that your employees don't click the ads, it will give you better visibility there as well. Um, I mean, the big issue I see a lot with ad agencies is they're trusting Google or they're using their own conversion metrics, where the main conversion metric is get somebody into the dealership, which on the surface sounds amazing because we want people in the dealership. But let me ask you this, what's cheaper? Someone looking for an oil change or someone looking for a new loaded truck? And so whenever you surrender that to Google and say, just bring people into my dealership, you get a packed service lane and an empty showroom.
Right. Okay. So
So that
again,
makes sense.
strategize. Yeah. And uh, how do you work? And this is a tough one. The
Mm.
GA4 Google Analytics. It's a little
It's
too
terrible.
complex for an average. Well, yeah, but whether it's terrible or not, it's just too complex for an average dealer to dive in to understand what's going on. So again, how would you advise? Is that a good tool for a dealer to find out what's going on?
I think it is, but there's a couple of metrics you can get. What we've had to do with GA4 is we dump all the data out of GA4 into something, into BigQuery or some large data tool where we can then create what's called funnels, right? Which is what I care about. Well, I'll talk about that in a minute. What you want to look at in GA4 is time on site. Time on site is one of the best indicators and amount of pages visited. So typically I'll tell my ad agencies, do not target VDP pages for ads, target search results, because there's a lot of ways to fake data and fake visits, but people who are faking traffic don't know to click a specific vehicle. Also, it helps me understand that ratio of people that come in on an ad that go to a specific VDP vehicle. It'll tell me what's going on with our pricing. Because if our pricing's not competitive, they'll come in, they'll look, and they'll leave and never click a single vehicle. So when if all I have is analytics for access, I'm looking at time on site. I just audited a store, a group of 3 stores with 26,000 visitors, average time on site, 0 seconds.
Right.
And it was a $45,000 ad spend and nobody stuck at all. And so that's an obvious red flag. It is common for like Facebook to send some garbage traffic and some good traffic, but you're trying to see engagement because that's what matters to us. You're trying to see that they went to other pages. So you can set up events like how many VDP visits, but it doesn't work if all the traffic sent to a VDP because you have 100% success and the phone doesn't ring. Um,
Right.
Another thing I really care about when I'm talking to sales managers, if we're doing Facebook, surely somebody mentioned Facebook that came into the showroom, right? I mean, maybe not everybody who clicked a Facebook ad said, thank goodness I saw you guys on Facebook, but it should come up at least a couple times a month that they saw our ad on Facebook. If nobody's mentioning the place we're advertising, I'm highly suspicious. And I'll use, there's some really cheap call tracking tools like CallRail, which will actually tell you what pages the customers were on and where they came from and what keywords they searched before they called. And I can use that to kind of match back real leads to see, how many phone calls we actually got from Facebook to the website versus whatever the reporting is saying.
So tell more on that. I, from my understanding, the easiest thing was to have just different phone numbers, and then you can really track where that traffic comes from, phone traffic. You saying you can have one phone number and still figure out these things?
It's more complicated than that. So what CallRail does is every visitor, and I'm sure there's other companies too. This is just the cheapest one I found.
Sure.
Every company, every person that visits your website sees a different phone number. And so because they see a different phone number, when they CallRail is able to kind of reverse step it to all the pages they visited and what ad they clicked on to come into the website. So I can kind of see a reverse profile of how we got these people, what ad they clicked on, what pages they visited. And it's crazy because you see weird patterns. I saw a dealership where they had bought 2 cars from us over 5 years, and I've been recording all their calls and web traffic. And then the third time they actually Googled our competitor, clicked our ad, came into the website, and then called up. Now, I know what the CRM says without even looking. I know the CRM says repeat customer called again, but if we hadn't seen that they had Googled the name of our competing store, we wouldn't have known how close we were to losing that guy to the competitor. And so that data is really helpful.
Right. So that provider is a call rail. Is that a phone
Yeah.
system? Is it
Yeah,
what is it?
no, it's you load a little snippet in your tag manager,
Yeah.
and it just runs it has a dashboard. It shows you, all the phone calls. It actually uses AI to summarize the calls. And I used it because really the first product I used it for was what keywords bring in service, what keywords bring in sales. And that's when I realized, holy cow, dealership near me is 90% service. Like, they're not calling to buy a car, they're calling to get their car fixed. And so then that realigned how I budgeted my marketing money, because I'm spending my entire budget on service and nothing on my showroom.
Right.
So,
Okay.
but it,
And,
yeah,
and are there other providers like that, just so we can stay
I
agnostic, that on top of your head?
I'm sure there are.
Yeah.
I'm sure that I've heard of another. I had another one approach me. We were looking at it. I don't remember their name off the top of my head. We were going to test it, but they were trying to get away from that whole tracking the web traffic, which
Yeah.
is all I care about.
Okay.
I'm not affiliated with them at all. Like, I buy their products, and I recommend them. Many of my stores buy them independently of me using it for them, but
Hmm.
it's just so helpful to, I mean, yeah, just last week I missed 30 phone calls because their phone system was down. They're all recorded. They're all sitting in that call rail tool. We were able to route the phone number to their cell phone. So then the store's down. It just gave us a little more ammo. And I think it cost us under $500 for all of it. So
Okay.
not that I want to pitch those guys, but they have a
No,
good
no, it's
thing.
totally fine, but this is one of the topics that we see a huge importance right now of Shift Digital. We see data that lead submissions are going down, and click to
Mhm.
calls from mobile are going up. And
Yeah.
as it is right now, I audited literally dozens of dealers, and every single one of them will have two phone numbers, one for service, one for sales. You click on sales, and they ask you, "Did you call for sales and service?" So
Yeah.
it's really archaic. If there's a tool that can take it to the next level, we're
Yeah.
definitely ready for it.
Well, and definitely, and so we've done it a couple ways where we've set it up so that when they click that number, it'll ask the question, and we'll do. I like one phone number. I want to make it as simple as possible on the website. So, but then it can prompt once, or you can route it so that if they call the service number, it only routes to the service department. It skips reception if necessary. There's some pretty cool. I hate to say it this way, but it's a non-automotive tool. And so it's a lot more advanced than some of the stuff we have in automotive. And I
Right.
often try, like with chat clients and that kind of stuff, is there a non-automotive tool I can get for $50 instead of spending $600? And is it good enough that I can save the $550 not doing an auto tool? Because other people need chat. It's not a automotive only thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but
Well,
these,
these phone systems are insanely archaic. Again,
yeah.
I had a customer service job more than 20 years ago, and the whole phone system was run through a computer. There were
uh,
no phone lines, and we knew exactly we could connect a lot of stuff, all the data. And right now, like again, my like sticking point that aggravates me, when I test dealer website, it says click to call in a specific VDP or VLP of the car, and not only they cannot see which car I'm looking at, they don't even know if I'm calling for sales or service.
yeah. Yeah, so that, and again, I think we're a little off the original top, but all of that's configurable. You can set rules, and I've
Yeah.
done this as well, where I turn off the call tracking on the service pages and only put it on the sales pages, largely because I'm trying to track the sales. The service is easy. We get lots of that traffic. And I think that's shifting a bit right now. Like, service is getting a little harder, but you can set it so that if they're on a VDP, it can ring it serves a different phone number to them, and it routes to a different phone number when they call. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of that quick customization that you can do that just, and I'm with you. Like, how many times do I call and get told 3 times this call may be recorded,
Hmm.
over and over again? And a lot of times this is what I'll do. I'll put the call tracking on and just pull some of the shiners of the salesman interaction with customers. I mean, I've had salesmen tell people to go to the competitor's store because they've got stuff in stock, and just push customers off because it was easy. So, or tell them all to call their personal cell phone, and now we have no record of these leads. So,
Yeah.
I think if you look at marketing, really, it's an extension of sales. They're the same machine, and the more you can tie the how marketing is affecting sales and how sales is affecting marketing, the stronger the machine, the better machine runs. My brother, who's also a very interesting person, worked at LinkedIn for years in their sales their departments, running a lot of it. And I said, what do we not know in automotive that Microsoft has figured out? He's like, oh, it's simple. You guys pit marketing against sales. We know it's the same machine. Money goes in one end, more money comes out the other end. And we don't spend all day complaining about how marketing's letting down sales or sales is letting down marketing. We have benchmarks and we hold people to benchmarks. And based on those benchmarks, we know where to fix things. And we assume no one's an idiot. Like that's our general assumption.
Yeah, well, we're definitely not there because
Not yet.
as you probably have seen with the OEM decides on some marketing event and then dumps a couple of hundred of leads on a dealer without telling
Yeah.
them anything about what it is, some golf event, and then
Yeah.
they and then I'm as a consultant, I go to dealer and I have to question them why aren't you closing these leads that you got for free, and leads are just worthless. All right. So we touched on just checking Google results. We touched a little bit on GA4 phone thing. That's extremely valuable. Is there anything else you would say in this? Go ahead.
Yeah, it's going to sound stupid, but mystery shop yourself, mystery shop your competitors. It's 5 seconds to do
Yeah.
a search for, and again, I'm going to keep using the Silverado example, but new Silverado. Click their ad. I mean, yes, don't do it often because it'll cost them money. And eventually Google will get wise to it. So it's not some new gimmick, but look at how many pop-ups get in the way. Look at how it works. But anytime we install any third-party vendor in any of our websites, I go through the process of putting in leads. Sometimes I learn something like, you know what, this is actually a good idea. A lot of the times when you're loading crap on your website, you're slowing it down and you're putting stuff that's confusing, because if you think of the third party lead provider's role, they're trying to maximize their lead count. So there are vendors that put a search bar on top of your SRP, not for you to search for a car to buy, but to like start your trade process. And if you screen record people interacting with it, a huge chunk of people are getting confused and just leaving. They're never becoming a lead. So you can't even measure how many people you're losing because they were confused. They were trying to buy a car. They typed in the car they're looking for. Now they've got a how much do you owe on your trade window instead of like search results. And so we found over and over again. And the dealers will say to me, well, this is my top lead provider. I'm like, of course it is. It erased all the other buttons on your page, but their
Yeah.
buttons. But how many people are walking away confused and frustrated because they couldn't just buy a car? And and that goes to, when I built my first dealer website, I was really impressed with myself. I thought I'd nailed it. It was the savvy, tech oriented, crazy search I'd always wanted. And I recorded 150-plus-year-old, platinum F-150 buyers trying to buy a car on my website. And they would scroll down, scroll up, pause, and leave. It's like, oh man, I have made a tool for nerds, and our customers aren't nerds. They're guys, they're rednecks sometimes. They're older than I was. Like I got to rethink the whole thing. And I spent the next 6 months making it stupid proof, because if I make it work for the most technologically challenged of my customers, the nerds will still get through it fine.
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir. The biggest offender, in my opinion, is Carfax, which I think now it's been over a year. They just suddenly appeared on every single VLP of every single Toyota dealer that I've seen without telling anybody. So the Carfax logo shows up on every single car before you even go to the car. And when you click on it, of course, it goes to carfax.com. So that traffic is invisible. The traffic can go any way you want. And
Yeah.
then Carfax will be the lead source.
Well, and I think you have to also realize that, we worry about giving our customers data to people. But when you put a widget on every single page of your website, you are giving full transparency to whoever that widget owner is of all your web traffic, all your customers, everybody. And so when people come to me and say, I've got this great bank, they're giving me, they're email blasting all of my competitors' customers. I'm like, well, how did they get your competitors' customers?
Yeah.
Also, are they selling your customers to the next guy down the road? I mean, like, think this all through. You want to even forget the privacy stuff for a second. Do you want other vendors to know who you're actively trying to close in your market? Do you want anyone around you to even know that? Like, guard your stuff first, then worry about trying to get other people's data.
All right. Yeah, that's very important. Okay. Anything else you have on? We had a great conversation already, but anything else on working with marketing agencies, SEO,
So,
paid advertising? Right. That's usually what they
yeah.
sell.
So on SEO, content. And again, content's taken a hit lately because Google is blocking AI crawlers at a greater amount. But if when people pay for SEO, you should be paying for physical pages. I guess they're digital, but pages you can see and in a fixed amount per month. I just audited a group, same situation. They spent $30,000 on SEO. I was the website provider, so I know how much they requested I do. So they asked me to make some metadata changes to the website. What I had was fine. What they wanted was also fine. But they didn't call me again for 5 months. But they billed $5,000 a month every month for those metadata changes that had a zero effect. Good websites every 6 months, if it's necessary, update the metadata. It's not necessary more than that. Google is not a new thing that our website, like the old SEO, we got to restructure our website because there's this new search engine called Google. It's 25 years later. Like, all these websites now are built for SEO in mind. Maybe some are better than others, but like rearranging metadata is, to me, a one and done 1 hour project you could do yourself with ChatGPT. You don't need to pay for that every month. But good content, talking about the models you're selling, hitting on keywords you want to show up in search for, that's still gold. Also, put the first few sentences of your article in Google search and see if 500 other dealerships have the exact same 2 sentences. You
Right.
should not use AI to write your content. We tried it. We thought it'd be such a time saver, but we got deranked. Not we dropped in rank. We didn't get completely delisted. Every time we use AI to either append existing articles or write them from scratch. So real humans still need to write it, and then you need to be able to physically see, like, show me the 8 articles I got this month. Let me see them. What are the subjects we're doing for next month? Are we going to talk about the new EV this? Hopefully not, or like how this stacks up against the other trucks we have with this new model. But that is where that's where the value is. Everything else, I'm just ask your website provider to fix it for you if they haven't already done it, and save the money. Um,
What would you say
Face,
is a
yeah.
what would
Go
you
ahead.
say is a good cadence on communicating with your marketing agency? Because I've heard like once a month a meeting. No, more often, less often,
Oh, more often.
more often.
Um, the minimum is twice a month, or every 2 weeks or so.
Yeah.
So here, think about how this works. If you're doing it right, your marketing meeting should focus on two things: what are they doing and what are the results? And you should have some it should make sense. If it doesn't make sense, there's your giveaway. Number two, what's everybody else around us doing? All we have, you can see what other ads are being run. You can see what other slides are up on your competitor's website. And if you're running your Google ads right, you can see when they're increasing or decreasing their advertising spend by store. So that second half of the meeting is so and so actively targeting us, and do we have to pivot? So the first week of the month, first meeting of the month is usually, here's our strategy, here's what we're going to do. We're going to focus on lease offers because this is where we think the opportunity lies. The second meeting of that month is, how is everyone else doing it too, and are we in trouble? So there have been months where by week 2 we realized that there's a 60% increase in spend on this dealer for F-150s. So now we've got a choice: do we match the spend, divert money, or do we hope it works out? Like, how do we do it? And if you're doing it right with your marketing agency, good marketing agencies your competitors have hired will get fired, not because they did the wrong thing, but because they checked in at the beginning of the month, launched a great strategy, and never pivoted on the second week or the third week when their strategy got countered.
Mhm. Okay.
That's kind of,
Yeah. So
yeah.
meet twice a month, and questions you ask them is like show the results, show the data, like the traffic that you're getting, conversion, time on site, to show that it's not just visits, right? Not just
Yeah.
VLT, but actual something that can move it. Um, Ask them to tell you how you compare to the competition, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. So there's something called auction insights. You can actually see what how often everyone else is showing up in your market, and you can see if you're watching that, you see when the numbers go up or down. And if those numbers are going up, you've got a problem. They're showing up more often in your market than they were the week before. There's fallout for that. And the fallout is usually an emptier showroom on your side. And so I always tell my dealers, I know their marketing, their competitors' marketing strategy better than the dealers do who are letting the guys run because I'm watching it more than they are. So we're seeing the opportunities, we're seeing, and you can, it's interesting because you can see how the third parties are going to do because the third parties are also buying ads. So you can tell that Carfax or KBB was on the rise because they were throwing a lot more money into advertising for them for a period. And I can tell you when it's going to slow down because you can see when their ranking is falling in the market share game.
Right.
But this kind of we've got all this data. That's the data I care the most about. Is am I seeing like a cliff drop in the engagement of my advertising, and what could that be? So we talked about GA4 for a second. I want funnels, right? So I build everything in like how many users came to my website? How many of those users stayed long enough to even give it a chance at looking at a car? How many of them went to inventory? Okay, how many of the ones that went to inventory went to a VDP? How many of those went to lead forms? So like that or phone calls, right?
Yeah.
So that funnel, I'm looking at each stage of the funnel. If everyone's coming into inventory, but there's a 20% drop in VDPs, something's wrong. Either maybe I'm bringing in a bunch of people on Suburbans and we're out of Suburbans. Maybe we have call for price on half our cars. Maybe we've got in transits. Like but I know exactly where to look because they were in our inventory and for some reason they didn't go forward. And I'm going to go right there myself with my own eyes. And say what's odd to this week that wasn't a problem last week because I'm looking at it every week. And it's a silly thing, but if you make marketing a priority and give it an hour a week or an hour every 2 weeks to just ask what's on fire, you're going to find fires you never would have spotted,
Yeah.
problems you would never have thought were wrong. So,
Yeah. That makes sense. Anything else like for that meeting? Any other pointers for
uh,
average dealer when they meeting over
it,
the phone, I guess?
so you should always have an understanding of where the leads are coming from because one of two things are true. If you don't know where the leads are coming from, they may just be cannibalizing your own leads. I had a dealer come to me and say, look, I am so glad I hired this vendor. I said, okay, why? I had a 20% drop in leads the month I hired him, but thank goodness they brought in 20% of my leads. So I'm paying 2,000 more a month, but I'm back to level. And I'm like, hold on a minute. Where did you say they're getting these leads? They were calling
Yeah.
their CRM leads a month before the dealership was. So they were just cannibalizing existing leads. The second big thing is we have all this data. There should never be a mystery of where these leads are coming from. If it's a mystery, something's fishy. So if they can't tell you where they're getting them, but they're using a magic source. I had a dealership, and I'll end with this if we need to. He said, "Look, I'm getting lots of leads, but they're not going anywhere, and I don't know how to describe. They're just creepy. They're just weird." I said, "What? Okay, all right. Let me dig into this." So I started digging in. I found a 1-900 number on Craigslist. This was years ago. That if you want 3 minutes with Candy, you had to put a lead in at the dealership, at the family group with their 16 stores. As soon as they had proof that you put a lead in, Candy would do her phone sex call with you. And I'm like, oh my guys, like you gotta look into this
Hold
stuff.
on. Let me take notes. That sounds like great strategy. That's a great business idea. Okay, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
Candy did great. She brought in
Yeah.
hundreds of leads, all creepy, didn't sell a
Hmm.
lot of cars,
Hey.
but like those are the kind of mysteries I'm trying to unravel.
Yeah.
That this isn't at the last Google and Facebook are the largest source of leads, and AI is about to disrupt all of it. But but you got to have that stuff dialed in before you play around with geofencing or retargeting or banner ads or YouTube. Those are all fractional contributors
Yeah.
to what strong stores do to grow. Is they get Google and Facebook dialed in, and they don't waste time with auto generated garbage ads with stock photos. So
Yeah, that's great, and I think we'll have to meet again to talk about the AI stuff because you definitely have a lot to share and help. What I wanted just to add, just seeing working directly with an OEM on a Toyota team. Toyota has actually my company, Shift Digital, is providing the inside dashboard. Inside is
hmm
pretty clear,
hmm
right? And inside will give the dealer that info. What's the time on site? And then you can break
hmm
it down by refer. Not everything is showing. Unfortunately, we don't have tag-in solution for paid advertising, but we
okay.
can see a lot of other stuff. And every Toyota dealer has access. I would imagine by extension, Lexus dealer, and I'm sure a lot of other OEMs have that. Another thing that just like popped to my head, like we have a tool for dealers where they can pull their lead list, and they can see the lost leads that are verified lost that we know that lead came in, and we can track that they bought a Toyota somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And if that dealer knows and suddenly can see, and they should check monthly or maybe even more often, who's the dealer that's poaching all their customers?
Mm-hmm.
That's the dealer you should shop, right?
Yeah. You should shop. And shockingly, you're going to find when you look at who's buying into your space on advertising, it's them. I
Yeah.
mean, I've turned so, and it's much easier to defend someone coming into your space than to go into their space. Once you know what's happening, I had a store, we spent $7,000 a month stopping a store from buying our name. It was ridiculous. We went to the OEM. We're like, this is ridiculous. It's against the rules. But as we did it, we went from the third guy in the zone to the top guy in the zone because their entire marketing budget was just trying to buy our name, and we were defending that and also buying all the traffic that they should have been going after.
Yeah.
And we just switched places. So
Awesome. All right.
it works.
Is there anything else you want to add before we close?
I think that's it. I think, just it's complicated. It's a headache. But and honestly, sometimes the reason your marketing's in trouble is because the month just sucks. I mean, it does happen. And so be gentle to your marketing vendor. If you're finding the ads are running and you're finding they haven't done anything crazy and stupid, sometimes we just need to endure a crap September to get to a good October. And you can do a little on pricing, you can do a little here and there, but I've really struggled to double my spend to spend out of a slow month.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
All
I
right.
wish it were different.
All
So
right.
that's what I got.
Well, makes
All
total
right.
sense. Thank you very much.
Thank
And
you.
I'm gonna put the link to your company website in the description. And let's just stop the recording.